Welcome back, everybody, to Reload in Rio. I am never going to stop. Love to say that.
Reload.
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 Innovation here on the Analyst Desk. Welcome back. I'm Milosh. With me are Foxy and Mr. Laxing. And we've had a great day here exploring Siege X for the first time ever in a true competitive setting. But we have to talk and refresh everybody's mind. We're assuming that you're just joining, because there's going to be 5 days of competition before we get to the main stage next weekend. Why not just talk about the format and make sure everybody has it clear in their mind? We played a graphic earlier on today. We're going to play it one more time to make it clear that the studio times are from today until 5 days from now. When we are done, that'll be Wednesday, May 14th. But we started with 20 teams, best of ones, 10 in total every day, and they're split 5 best of ones per stream on A and B. But there's the whole bullet system. How many does everybody start with, and how does it all work?
Well, at the start of the tournament, every single team gets 6 total bullets at the moment. And every single game within the first 2 days, you can risk up to 1 to 2 bullets a day to be able to capitalize. There's also the different little cards to be able to impact. But at the end of the day, you have 6. You want to accumulate as many as you can into day 3, because that's where it gets very hectic. There's a lot more to it, but it's still going to be the same system.
Yeah, and day 4, the top 4 teams that will automatically qualify to the quarterfinals, and day 5, it is even more eliminations, because we're going to cut them again by half with the last 4 that'll be joining the first ones in the first set on the main stage that is being built as we speak, only 2 walls behind it. Let me tell you, it's going to look so sick. We're in Brazil. We have to pull at all the stops. The prize pool is $520,000 here at the event. The winning team goes home with $170K. That is definitely life-changing, especially for the first ever event that we have.
Yeah, imagine all the siege skins you
yep.
buy.
All the siege skins you can get.
That's where I'd put it.
Right.
My investment.
Investment, yes.
And at least that investment is going back to everybody in here, because it supports the esport and also the teams and individuals on every single one of our teams. But you mentioned cards, right? There are 2 that are currently in play. There's one that gets played at the end of today once we do the draft show, which will be live. Everybody gets to watch that. That'll be the
chicken card.
Exactly. And you were doing something. What was it that goes?
Yeah,
exactly.
You gotta fan the wings out.
You got the
pulling out that
you got
card.
the movement.
The chicken card is more about we're going to get out of it completely. But we have to take a look at the standings first, because we don't know who's going to be chickening out or potentially chickening out at the end of the day. Here's what our bullet count looks. This is straight from the Armory. Wildcard, Furia, and Fear X have been able to gather 2 extra bullets to chamber into their revolvers magazine. You can't usually fit 8 of them, at least when it's 457.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at this right now, some people will be like, wow, you know, Fear X, Furia, Wildcard, they're looking really good. How is no one else at their level? Yeah, that's because some of these games have not been played yet. So by the end of this, you're going to see this balance out. Some teams have been using 2 bullets, reloading 2 bullets, where some teams maybe are going to be using 1. So we're all going to see it roughly close no matter what, but that right side is where you're going to be seeing some of these teams over there already that aren't gaining anything because they lost those matches.
And Cloud9 PSG right now, just a quick update, they are 6-5. Cloud9 are up, and it could end there, or it could go to overtime and see how that new system works with the operator bans, but
Exactly, and there's no right or wrong way to go about the risk that you're taking in each matchup. Every single one is going to be just one step at a time. Some teams want to play it safe, only risk 1 bullet. Some teams want to accumulate as much of a lead as they can, because once you get to that 12 bullet mark, you're not safe confirmed, but it's just a little bit more comfortability. Like you said,
it's a good threshold to be at, that you can feel a little comfortable, but you ain't safe. That's the important.
You want to have your revolvers loaded up. So if you got 12, you're looking a bit better than all the others.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like
Show them the revolvers.
Pull them out.
The guns.
Yeah, double Deimos on this show. Anyways, speaking of shows, we talked about this a bit earlier on, and now we finally get to see what the IGL table looks like.
Hello guys.
Bonjour.
So Philippox, what's for you to be IGL?
It means to be the most annoying guy in the team, bro.
Oh.
I have to pick up in everyone like.
Plus one.
Yeah,
agree.
it's kind of bad, but in some ways it's really good. Like to tell people what to do and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's good if you have another guy that can be like that, you know,
Yeah.
that can be like saying, guys, like individually you can't be doing that, you can't be doing that. Because if you're always the guy, like it feels like they can start being annoying, and you don't want to do that, obviously.
And also, you don't want to be the guy that's hated in the team.
Yeah.
So it's like you're always the one telling you, don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
So if you're all like on the same page, then that's a lot easier to do your job.
I was saying, like holding everyone to a standard and like understanding, like having an identity, I guess, also is like the IGL is kind of enjoyable at least. So like your team understands and like buys in, and like you all play a certain way.
I mean, that's why the coach also is good, right, on the aspects, you know, to have a coach that can do some of the hard work of telling people, you know, so you don't have to do everything yourself.
Right now, we're the IGLs, we're here, and our team is in the pool, in the hotel.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
Some responsibility,
some
for sure.
responsibility.
Us always working, them. That's what happens.
No, I'm agree with all of you. Also, I think it's high pressure because you have like what about me? I feel like if we lose, I'm mainly the reason why we lose. You know, because I'm making the decision in game and I'm giving the key and everything.
Yeah, and if you're a good IGL, I think you're going to take this responsibility for the team. You know, you have to take it because you are the one calling the shots. So I agree with you. It's a lot of pressure.
Especially in a game like Siege, like you, like as the IGL, like you are the main problem solver of like understanding like what you want to put like your pieces basically, and like what utility, what you need to clear, to help you enable them when they're around.
That's why it's also good having that second person too. Because
Yeah.
hey, say it, none of us are going to be right 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's to see to have people that also see the game from like a high level, like strategically, that can also call is like so beneficial.
You need the credit, I feel like, you know, like if you are telling these people all the time, you also need to be like there to be sure that you are giving positive reinforcement, you know. Like if you are going to say when you do something bad, you need to make sure you also say once they do something good, otherwise
Yeah, it's negative.
it's just negative balance,
Yeah.
you know. You need to always make sure it's positive or neutral, you know, kind of thing.
I feel like as well, you need to have aura. Like you need to know how to tell people like the good way. People need to listen to you. Like I mean, you can be like really intelligent in the game, but if people don't listen to you when you speak, then you
Yeah.
will not be a good IGL.
Yeah, respect thing. Respect, yeah.
That's true.
Good to hear from the IGLs, and more from the IGL roundtable will be coming as our tournament progresses. It's good to hear from all of them, and especially from Likefak, because the Hope Core video that was made in the Boston group stage and was, guys, are we going white or long bar? Sometimes you have to be that guy.
I'm just saying, I agree with all of them. You know, the IGL has to take responsibility for when things go wrong. Every time I lost a gunfight, I didn't think I did it wrong. I just thought Fox put me in a terrible position. So, like, I just patted myself and was like, it's Fox's fault. It's not mine.
Right. Lex, you got flanked. I need help. No, but for everything that
He's
they're
the bounce
saying
player
is true.
usually.
Especially the pressure that you feel, because every single loss, even if you're difficult on your teammates, every single loss at the end of the day feels like it weighs on you. If you did something wrong, if you called something wrong, you think of things forward, you stay up at night just thinking about it. It's terrible, but it was really nice to hear the inside of all of them. I don't know how Packer was able to sneak in there. I thought it was. I thought when we talked about it, it was the IGLs, like the best IGLs.
You know, I'll
It's some of the
listen,
best.
I will
Oh,
say
okay.
this. I will say this. I think Packer is in a far better position IGLing Cloud9 than what he was doing on M80, especially with
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
familiar faces on that roster.
Because of the respect thing, when you
Yes,
join a
the
team like M80 as a rookie IGL, it's very difficult for you to respect Packer. But on C9, all of those players are mostly rookies besides really Dream. So it's a way better position to be in.
Well, maybe we'll get to see C9 later on today and see what they can offer. Now, I have never been an IGL in Siege, but I IGL'd a bit in all other titles, either in Raid Nights or that's for the Destiny lingo, but also in Battlefield back in the day. So
Right.
there's a lot of pressure that rides on you to make the right call, and I would only assume that in Siege it could be worse, because I've heard people being burned constantly for making the wrong calls as IGL.
It's very difficult to talk to people in a respectful way. You have to always be thinking of how to speak to people properly,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like Savage said, giving them encouragement, which
You
I didn't give any encouragement.
Fox gave no
to you.
encouragement. It was like cutthroat. It was like, you messed up. It's your fault. Fix it. And he slept great. I don't know why he said, you think you stay up at night. Fox was sleeping, I guarantee you.
He changed, though. I will say he changed a lot. And for that, we're going to have to change our topic, unfortunately, to our next matchup. Halfway through our day, we've passed it. Dark Zero versus Fnatic is up on the chopping block. And we get to see how these two squads come in. Fnatic with a lot of changes over time. They've been up and down over the past 2 years, and even 3, really, for looking back at older forms of this squad. And Dark Zero on the other side, well, we want to see a resurgence back into the top. Last time they were here in Brazil, it was a very different roster, and they made it all the way to the biggest stage that there's ever been in Siege.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be, in my opinion, Dark Zero picked Fnatic, right? So for me, they have Nafe on that team. They have Citizen. They already have EU talent to understand what they're kind of going up against. And I really think they think Fnatic is going to be an easy opponent, which is why they're going to pick them, which is why they're going to reload 2 bullets in the chamber. So I feel Dark Zero is extremely comfortable going into this matchup.
Let's talk about them then in detail. We'll pull up their roster. They're on the screen for everybody to see. And of course, we talked about Nafe. We saw Nafe also in the IGL roundtable. What does the squad look like when it's fully around him in-game?
Well, I mean, the DZ story has really just been trial and error. They are trying to find a new legacy when it comes to Siege X, and that starts with picking up 2 players that specifically round out the team and fit the holes that they needed. Citizen's going to be coming onto the team. He's filling into Bolo's spot. A perfect 1-for-1 swap. He's a great flex, great controller. The team needed a little bit more consistency. But one thing that we've never known DZ to be is fast. They've always been the slow team. They've tried to switch that system up a little bit, but picking up Spirits, I think, is going to be the key for the team because he is the X factor that team needs so desperately. He is the player that is constantly playing these crazy, wacky ops, the shields, the Ying, the Glaz, and he's very quick. He's very quick on his feet, and he's got the brain to be an IGL too, so he's always thinking of the bigger picture. I think this is going to be Spirits' first real time where he can shine on a team, and when it comes to the new map bans, or the new operator bans, that's where Spirits is also such a strength because you have to target ban him or else he's playing shields. And if you don't target ban him, then he's still playing shields.
Yeah.
And he can play everything else, so it just makes it's such a versatile team now.
And you add to it Kangaroo Kenny in the background, who is maybe not one of the most accomplished coaches because it's not been a long time where we've seen him in competition. However, this is someone that has impressed immensely in Europe and now internationally as a coach.
I mean, I truthfully don't believe coaches get not enough appreciation than what actually they do for a team. I mean, for us, then we know the coaches that we've had, we've been thankful to have the coaches that we have because they do put a lot of work and they do help you balance a team out. They do help balance even mindsets and put you in the right mindset for these matches. So especially with Kangaroo coming in and the new roster, as you were saying, all the pieces of the puzzle are now put into this roster, and there's going to be great things.
Kangaroo Kenny hopping in to the team.
I can't wait until we have an event in Australia one day where Kenny's going to be there and we can actually pull the joke.
Will be happy. They won't fly, 3 hours.
Anyway, I'm not going to be appropriating any Australian lingo for this, but we have to talk about Fnatic on the other side. They were picked by Dark Zero, and Fnatic, they've gone through many, many changes, and this is the latest form where you have Gruby and T-Pack who've been around for a long time, and Jegs, of course, that has come in over the past year or so, but it's a team with no expectations, really, if you're looking at it.
Yeah, and, that's a good thing. There really isn't a lot of expectations. Obviously, every roster change you make, you gotta take that risk. You gotta take that chance that it's going to work out. Obviously, they got Grubby, they got also Sarks, and the thing is, this roster on paper to me isn't the best. I think during that transfer window that they could have got some players.
Who the fuck are these guys?
But when you think about it, they just recently played at the Malta Cyber Series where they did end up getting second. They did verse very formidable opponents there from their EU talent. So it does go to show they are staying competitive and especially hitting the ground running right out of the gates as a brand new roster, not having as much time together. There is hope. Now, when you're looking at this game going against Dark Zero, with how well they've looked, the players they have on it, this is going to be a big challenge them right out of the start of this tournament.
Both teams are almost in a similar position where they're trying to establish a new legacy of being that consistent main stage team that's constantly showing up. DZ with Nafe, Fnatic with their new roster.
I don't think these guys stand a chance.
Deepak. I love to see him, since Rogue, slowly become more and more of a leader and a backbone that a team needs. And so now, finally being on Fnatic, it doesn't really seem like there's anybody stomping on his toes to be able to prevent them from doing that.
We talked about Kenny on the more coaching side over on Dark Zero. We got Tristan, Mr. Tan, Sethis on the other side here for Fnatic, who's been around since those Rogue days, and he's been someone who's been instrumental in building up the squad to today.
Yeah, I think Sethis does a good job, and I made the mistake of saying Sarkis over Jaxu. Jack is a player that I think, one, Sethis is looking at and wants to bring that talent on. He wants to be able to put this player in this roster and put him in the best position to shine, to really show that they are making the right decisions on these roster changes. And again,
They get to
this is
pick
going
who
to be a
they
big
play.
testament
That's
to them to be going against Dark Zero and how well of a brute force that Dark Zero has.
And Sethis, behind picking up the players, he is not worried about the older players, players that are more experienced. He has a couple of those guys on the team.
He does.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to cultivate the new sets of players to be able to bring them up to speed. And I think that's a genius way to look at it, because you're looking forward into the future of Fnatic. Because obviously at the moment, they're not going to be a top contender. So he's trying to build their way there. And you're right, they've slowly been at that pace.
Funny enough, this is what Dark Zero has been attempting and doing succeeding even at it over the past 5 years, really, since the 2020 SI up to now.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Dark Zero as a whole, this is a roster for its entire span of Siege was always just a slow team. But as Fox just said, they now have pieces to this puzzle, and they've changed how they play. They are a far better team in terms of the dynamic and style, where it's just not so static.
Well, gentlemen, let's talk.
I guess we can
about our
move
matches
this.
series. Again, all of our matches are best of ones until we hit the main stage.
don't really need that.
Next Friday, Lair is up on the block here, where Dark
Woohoo.
Zero get to have that final ban. What are we looking at here?
I'm loving Lair for Dark Zero. I feel like North America as a whole is coming to this tournament with playing all of the big maps that other regions are usually more common to ban.
Yeah.
Lair, Nighthaven Labs, maps of that sort. Dark Zero going to a Lair, bringing pretty much their new roster against a Fnatic new roster to the newest map that has come in to be able to shake it up. And NA has a really good advantage at understanding how to play Lair.
I was gonna say, I really like it too coming out of Dark Zero, because it's a map that when you form a new roster, unlike Dark Zero, those players that came from said rosters enjoy this map. They're used to this map. Not to say that some of the Fnatic guys don't as well, but Dark Zero already is a better established roster, so they should be able to pick apart this map and dissect it far better, far faster than we see from Fnatic.
And we're never going to be able to talk about Dark Zero and any map without pointing out the shields and spirits. And Lair is a very big blitz map, very big BB map. So obviously, any map that you can abuse those shields, Dark Zero will have a little bit of that advantage.
How do you play now that you have operator bans on the first 3 rounds that can adapt and prepare counter for their upcoming round?
Well, I actually spoke to Spirits directly, and he said that teams would either direct ban him, and then he would have the ability to play crazy operators, the way he said. I don't want to leak anything from what they said, but the operators that he would play would really allow him to be fully aggressive, and if he's not on those and they don't ban that shield, then he can just be the information gatherer.
And when we know what the issue is, when you specifically target ban one player, you still got 4 other formidable opponents that you have to worry about. So putting that much emphasis on one player, sure, it's daunting, but I don't think it's the best strategy, especially for a brand new team like Fnatic. You're going to need to be able to adapt, and if your only adaptation is just canceling out one player, you're already starting out wrong and wasting your bans, in my opinion.
You got Citizen and Nafe also that are very, very familiar with EU playstyle, plus
NJR,
Annie in the background.
And the party time.
You got people that have years of experience now, competitive play. It's going to be a tough ride for Fnatic. That's what we're kind of just making it clear. But that's the surprise that we're looking for. This is why Best of Ones is the best moment for you to kind of flip everything on its head.
And to just say, yeah, with the best one, this does put Fnatic still in a good spot, because the best thing about Best of Ones is both maps are kind of equal in some aspect, and you only get one chance. So it's
I can
really
flip it vertically.
going to be faster at adapting.
Welcome to Faster at calling out our casters. Let's bring them up. There they are. Gus and Xenox. Jens
Not doing
again,
that.
game 3. We almost have a 7-0 in the game prior. Are we going to finally get one here to pull out?
Well, I don't want a 7-0. I want a good game. I want a nice close one. You know
I
what,
agree.
Milos? I'm very happy. We've had enough 8-pack for today. We've had enough Chalet for today.
8-pack won today, but
That's a lot coming from you guys.
It did. But I want something a little bit different. And a good old classic NA-EU rivalry match here on Lair, I think, is right up my alleyway.
Yeah, I'm super keen as well. I mean, Lair's going to play out quite differently to Chalet. And yeah, and on top of the stories for this particular matchup, right? I mean, DZ, as you guys are kind of alluding to, looking to reinvent themselves a little bit heading into this particular season, and for Fnatic, a complete overhaul to see if they can find some success. They've been waiting as an organization, I think, now for quite some time to try and reclaim some glory.
Very quickly, Fox, have you got any dance moves? Because we've had some really good techno music in the background. You got anything?
Dance moves?
Yeah.
Whoa, why are we putting me on the spot? Like, why are we talking about this on the spot?
That's for the after party.
That's all we get.
He's just a chill guy.
He's never animated. He's just a chill guy. What time are you going fishing tonight?
Oh, 8 o'clock.
When the pool closes.
Right after
I'll be
the
out
show.
there.
He's going to be fishing in the pool regardless of it. Don't worry, he was twerking just before we got in here. I'll leave that image in your mind as you get ready for game number 3. Gentlemen, all yours.
Yes, thank you very much, boys. As I said, I'm very much excited
Twerking.
for this. A little bit of a mix-up from the APAC shenanigans
Blink.
that we had this morning. Now we go over to two teams with, I guess, some, again, intriguing roster changes that we've got coming in for both of Dark Zero and Fnatic. Over to Lair, different map. It's not Chalet, thankfully. Something different here. Match 3 on the A-Stream for Reload Day 1.
Yeah, I'm really eager. I think Dark Zero very much going to look to come out of the gate strong.
80%.
We know that North America heading into this season will be largely quite competitive.
boy.
Right, so they're looking to see if they can switch things up a little bit. Will we finally see a change of pace?
Social prediction, though.
Very one-sided social prediction.
What time is the EU lads up? Are they up?
I think it's pretty time.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, look, I think Dark Zero definitely should go into this as the favored roster. I think their core 3 that they've retained as well, and then, of course, with the additions that they've made, for me, puts them as one of the teams, again, I've really got that eye on. You know, you look at Nave, Pambazu, and JR, I think as a core 3 are really, really solid on a roster that has been performing quite well over a little bit of time. You add in Citizen and Spirits now, who have both shown that they've got really what it takes at the high level. The question mark will now be if they gel with the other 3 in this formation for the new DZ and for Fnatic. Well, an intriguing off-season. I was speaking to Fresh in the back room a little bit. There's this almost idea that, especially over in the European region, there were certainly some big names that you could have maybe got if you were Fnatic. Not quite sure. Jaxu, Groovy come in. Are they the names that were needed to propel this Fnatic roster into international events? Of course, they get the partner invitation for Reload, but you think about going into stage 1, stage 2, can they make a major? Can they make SI with this roster? It remains to be seen. For Deepak, Sarkson, and Jags, of course, been together for a little bit of time now as well. It's pretty contrast, but also quite similar in the sense you've got a core 3 on both sides, 2 new additions on both sides. But for Fnatic, they've definitely got to do quite a bit more to catch up to even a team like DZ.
I think in the eyes of many, probably going into this event with very low expectations, probably especially in comparison to some of the other EU talent at this particular event. So Fnatic really just have to prove to themselves, I think, that they can find some confidence at this event and sort of lay the foundations for a successful season.
Well, for those that have only just tuned in, of course, today has been
Why are you
on the A-Stream.
Why are you grabbing your chairs? I don't see it.
You know what?
Worrying me.
We've got a rehost.
Got to keep the back in good form.
Yeah. Got to sit down for a bit here.
I mean, when you hit your 30s, start getting sore back.
It does. Obviously, CAG Fearex was the first match that we had today. That had a rehost before we got underway. And our very most previous match as well, Scars and Wildcard, also had a rehost before we really got underway. The good news in
we get them out of the way early.
Exactly. We get them out of the way early, and then no issues so far. It's actually been a really quick day for the A-Stream so far. I think the B-Stream's lagging a little bit behind, but
probably
no
also
issue.
probably helps that we've had 15 rounds across 2 maps.
And honestly, it could have been even shorter than that if it wasn't for a CAG fightback on the opening map.
More than 15 rounds then in the end. Apologies, but math is not my strong point.
You're joshing a little bit. I think you just
That's why I became a caster, because my education was.
I think what we need to do now is we need to start keeping the analysts on a little bit longer.
Yeah, just keep them around.
Yeah, just keep them around. No, I'm joking. We can kind of just go check Guz mode a little bit here. Match 3 today, DZ, Fnatic. Definitely one that, when we kind of found out the schedule, I look at this one as yes, I know Dark Zero definitely come into this one as the favorite of the 2 rosters, but genuinely curious as to how Fnatic are going to perform.
Speaking of, one of you want to grab a headset, Fox, Lax? You guys
No,
down?
I don't think so.
No.
You know, we did actually. Last time we were in Brazil, we actually got to do a TriCast with Mr. Foxe.
Yeah, it was a terrible experience.
For you, I enjoyed it. I think it was great. You got some good insights, I think.
You're just being nice.
Can't
because
remember.
he's closer, so he's in with arm's reach. Where was I in Boston? I was at home.
Lex
I was
just
at
asked me,
home.
where were you in Boston?
I was just at home relaxing.
Not working.
Getting my tan on.
We are actually getting back in very shortly. Just going back through the operator ban phase, and beautifully, it comes up on our screen. Actually, I don't even think we got... Did we even get through the ban phase originally? I'm not even too sure. Either way, Warden, Kaid, banned off by Dark Zero and Blackbeard. And
Wait, was that automated or was that actually that quick?
I think it was automated.
Yeah, right.
I think they actually did do it. We have not actually played a single round yet, but we're about to do so here on Lair. Match 3 of the day. Dark Zero and Fnatic both have reloaded 2 bullets.
Yeah, I mean, that was the point that I was actually going to pick up before the rehost was Fnatic, despite going into this one, was, I would say, significant underdogs, still electing to put 2 on the board. We have seen in some of the other matchups, first day where
Elevate put up 1.
Yeah, right. In a more one-sided matchup, not taking that risk of putting 2 bullets on the board. So
can only today be able to put up 1 or 2 bullets.
What was your question, sorry?
I didn't have a question.
That was a statement.
That was a statement.
My apologies. I couldn't hear you over the reinforcement.
No, I was just very profound in my statement there. Thanks, guys.
Very wise.
Seconds left before insertion.
So Fnatic defending here on Lair. Defense has been really the talk of the town so far, but that was back on Chalet. Different.
I think we just need to throw away the whole fucking Thermite play. Just get rid of Thermite on our stack.
The North American region, so I'm kind of hoping Dark Zero don't let that come back and bite me. I mean, what is the realistic, right? Like, keeping the expectations grounded a little bit, what is the realistic expectation for Fnatic at this event? Reloading!
You're putting me on the spot here a little bit. I don't think top 8.
We are live.
I don't think top 8 is realistic.
No, I don't believe so. I don't think top 8 is realistic either. So is it just a case of...
If they can maybe avoid bottom 4, I think that would probably be a success.
Yeah,
as harsh as that may sound.
Get a couple of wins, you know, beat the teams maybe you should be beating, etc.
But look competitive. They need to look competitive.
And I think that's probably the case for a certain amount of teams here that have certainly made a bundle of roster changes. You got to look competitive. You got to show good signs. The way, you know, we were actually talking, we had the benefit of talking to Sathis actually a little bit last night about, you know, what do we kind of expect in terms of this roster? And it's really kind of like that slow burn build, right? You're using this as a platform, grow, build throughout then going into stage 1, etc. It's not the be and all of the fact that we have to perform at this particular event, but you've got to show those signs. You've got to show, okay, the addition of Jackson and Ruby are going to flow nicely with Deepak and Sarks and Jags. Slow start here on Lair to begin. The attack for Dark Zero. We have the Deimos employed for Citizen. Spirits on the Ying. 2 new members of this Dark Zero roster. Speaking of, Spirits over towards main stairs. Steps on a Gumai.
Shotgun in hand. Bit of information, but a mid-range battle. Unable to take that head on. Waits for that Candela.
Why did he look at it?
Ruby making that push towards main stairs. Spirits on 1 HP. So is Jaxu. And Spirits will be the better of the 2. Although another one pushing up main.
Oh,
shit! 3 in quick succession for Spirits. What an entry for him. What a start for Dark Zero.
My God.
Bucks, right? Spirits, they
fucking beat down.
Potentially here on the Dark Zero roster and looking to play more exotic picks, and that's exactly what we saw in the opening round. Lobby hit, Candela's from the Ying, shotgun in hand, proving to be very effective, crunching that position top stairs into bathroom. Not really much in the way of a response from Fnatic. It's not a typical set play from the attack, and Fnatic struggling to adapt.
Kind of a little.
I mean, is that something that
a little laggy, isn't it?
Dark Zero roster probably needed a little bit, was a bit more pizzazz and flash and
change of pace.
Change of pace.
It's the big thing for
Dark
I think
Zero.
the pace
I think you're right. Well, this was an easy highlight for those in the back room. As Spirits took full control from main stairs to the Mez, clears out Jaxu, and obviously had an idea that the flank was coming from Jegs. Oh, it's good to see Kangaroo Kenny back. He was a big part of Boston in terms of the hype from the coaches, and he was definitely one that was making a wave of noise, and he's brought that immediately round 1 here at Reload.
Oh, promoted now to a full-time coaching position for this team, right? So clearly the organization and roster were very happy with his performance, and I think rightly so. Wealth of knowledge and experience from a technical side, but also I think his energy inside of the server for match day is very much appreciated by players. Now, this particular event with the new ban phase, we are led to believe that the coach is now having a little speak to the roster as well. So that will be invaluable.
Of course, with the new ban system as well, so no Blackbeard, no Blitz available for Dark Zero, no issues.
Clearly to try and shut down Spirits, right? And they may follow that up with a target ban onto him depending on what he likes to play. It was the Ying in the first round, so that's going to follow up. That'll be intriguing.
Jags. I'll just play a little bit of contact here onto the entry of Citizen, who is playing Riora. First time that we've got to actually see vision of this operator, which was, of course, revealed at 6 Invitational. So a rounding applause. Are you there? The crowd?
No, I was cheering on at home at 4 a.m.
Cheering on at home at 4 a.m. You had to be a bit quiet.
Yeah, don't be too loud.
What do you think of Riora, though? From what I've heard, a lot of the players here are expecting to see a little bit of action from the newest operator, as Sarks goes and finds a double on the roam on the bot side for Fnatic. That's a great start to the second round. So obviously from the beginning of this round, Jags also tried to make a little bit of early contact. So Fnatic trying to get aggressive here on layer defense.
Very much see her as an enabler for making plays and creating space, but you need those other teammates up to get full value.
Reload.
So we'll wait and see. I don't think this is going to be the best round to showcase her ability to garner that control.
I give them a
Higher than the recommended.
So now just really in salvage mode, seeing if they can pull something special off, but it's unlikely.
Logic Bomb does ring out from NJR.
What is the recommended?
Sit back, see if Fnatic are going to continue to play aggressive, maybe catch one of them.
2,500.
Fnatic, after finding those initial 2 kills and being aggressive early, have just kind of cooled things down a little bit and elected to fall back. Play site, 40 seconds left, 5v3, and it's certainly a well-drilled outfit. Although, I say that, Sarks goes for one more and does find the head of Spirits, and Fnatic with a really good response here in the second round after Dark Zero and mainly Spirits were super aggressive in the opening round. It's a swift response, it's a clean one. Expecting the swing from Jags. Citizen, really good game sense, does find the kill. Running out of time though for Dark Zero, running out of players.
Oh my god, YouTube.
Flash not going to be
Almost
effective.
as fucking dumb as.
Effective, but he had already found the kill onto Citizen, and surprise, surprise, Fnatic take the second round. The majority of the work done early.
Yeah, over towards Warehouse, that cheeky double to open things up. It can be quite a difficult part of the map to attack. There's so many different angles and positions that defenders can situate themselves in, and so clearing that in an effective manner, in a methodical manner at that, can be a challenge for the attack Dark Zero on that occasion. Once you bleed those picks, then obviously the Riora you don't really get full effect from.
Your whole game plan just goes out the window.
Can't change the keyframe.
Automatically go into salvage mode. And to their credit, Dark Zero, you can see very much playing the round out. You can see some deep comp looking to try and play to get it as best they possibly could, especially NJR and Citizen moving out to the X situation, but ultimately just too many defenders to overrun, and with that, a 1-1 scoreline as we head to the third.
Which is already better than really what we got probably from our opening matches, which both the first 2 matches of the day we're looking almost flawless territory by the end of the first half. Fnatic, really, really solid response. Now to Dark Zero to change things up a little bit, and Spirits is electing to bring Shield play out rather than the Ying. We'll go Montang on the attacker repick. Capitao as well for Pambazu.
So that's arguably the danger player now playing 3 different operators across the first 3 rounds. So
you need to have a good operator pool.
Well, especially with the new ban phase, right? Because at the conclusion of this round, it puts Fnatic in a difficult position. If Spirits continues to play well, are they going to back that up with the Monty and try to fully take shields out? Do they elect to maybe play it quote-unquote a bit safer and take maybe the Ying out? To see what the response is like, but it is dependent on the performance of this round from Dark Zero and what they were able to achieve.
Again, I think we had a little bit of this conversation regarding Wildcard in the previous match about teams that wouldn't necessarily qualify for events, and I think this Fnatic roster probably fits that bill in such a strong region. They're not a guarantee, and Fnatic as an organization, I mean, I can't recall the last time that they actually made an international event.
It's been a while.
And so this is such a strong opportunity for this roster with their 2 new additions to get some really good prep in for the upcoming